who is the founder of Helene Parker Consulting in New York. I'll ask her to say a few words about herself in a moment. But first, to introduce the second speaker, and that is an old friend of Mediaspace who's been on many of these networking events. I'm not saying he's old, but he's a long-standing friend of Mediaspace. And that's Farrell Tan, who is a co-founder of the Orcan Consulting Asia Group in Kuala Lumpur. Welcome back, Farrell. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
And then, as I already introduced, Lavina Savendran, and she has helped us grow Mediaspace in terms of its content and our communications approach. As I say, really important in enabling us to have conversations around the call and not just webinars where we sit and listen. So she will be our third speaker on the panel. So what I will do next is to invite each panelist to give a very short 1 to 2 minute introduction of yourself. And then I'm going to ask some more probing questions about how you got to be where you are today and some of the key challenges that you see in staying future-proofed. We'll go through a number of those questions and I'll invite all of you to contribute. But first, just give us 1 or 2 minutes, if you would, about who you are and how you got to where you are today. So can I start with you, Helene?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellen Parker. I have founded a consultancy in programmatic advertising. We focus in education. We have a podcast. We have trainings. We really focus on demystifying what this whole industry is about. And we work closely with ad agency trading desk, and programmatic in-house team. And very recently with ad tech. So we're pretty excited about that. Our day-to-day consists of really focusing on how to best be efficient as human being working in this industry that is heavily influenced by technology. And so sometimes I believe we forget that we're not robots, we're just humans with whole heart. And so that's how we do any of our trainings. We make sure to say that this is a safe environment. And I invite everybody to know that this is a safe environment for us to ask all type of questions, and that we're here to learn, we're here to uplift each other, and to talk about a little bit more about future proof. So again, I'm Ellen Parker. I'll drop my information in the chat, and then I'm looking forward to sharing with Farrell and Lavina.
Great, thank you, Ellen. Apologies, I have mispronounced your name because it was so small on my little tile. I couldn't read your
notes. Forgiven.
So I won't make that mistake again, I promise you. So thank you, Ellen. It's very good to see you here. I'll move on to our next panelist, Farrell Tan. Farrell, would you like to give us a few minutes on your background and how you got to where you are today and what you do now? So Farrell, over to you.
Right. So my name is Farrell. I'm actually from Kuala Lumpur, from Malaysia. I co-own a communications agency called Orcan Consulting. We are on to our 15th year this year. So we've been around for a while. And I think a lot of what we do has sort of evolved over the years. I think, primarily our job is to basically counsel our clients to, help them with their communication needs, whether it's internal or external, typical things, launching of products, writing of collaterals, training, etc. So these are like some of the things that we do, but are not the only things that we do. And as Helen had mentioned, over the last couple of years, technology has played a huge part in disrupting our industry. So it's been I would say interesting, but also a challenge to keep up on what's out there and find ways to actually incorporate it into the kind of campaigns that we help create for our clients. And on the other hand, over the pandemic, when we were introduced to Mediaspace, we just Craig and I, who will introduce himself in a while, co-founded another sort of startup. It's an edutech product called the Third Degree, which is aimed to help postgraduate students with their methodology and communication, among other things. So it's we wear different sort of hats, but generally that's what I do. And I don't think any day is exactly the same, but that's the best part of what I do. the unpredictability of it all.
Great, thank you, Farrell. I endorse that. No 2 days are the same for you guys, or for Mediaspace for that matter. And third speaker, can I introduce Lavina Savendran? Ask you to say a few words about yourself and how you got to be where you are today. So over to you, Lavina.
Thank you, Hamish. I'm Lavina Savendran, and I am a seasoned strategic content and comms specialist and journalist. For me, I've always been very passionate about storytelling, and I like doing that through words, video, and movement with my background in dance. So I collaborate with clients worldwide, with my key role being fractional head of content and comms at Mediaspace, which some of you probably know me from. And I also work as a writer for Retail Wire. I also, in my free time, I invest some time working with remote professionals to help them sort of step out of isolation, because as a remote worker myself and an independent consultant, I feel that isolation sometimes. And I think it's about creating a space where we can, work together and create a bit of impact online. So that's a bit about me.
Great, thank you, Lavina. It's only been 4 years, but it's well overdue to have you as one of our keynote speakers. So we're really pleased that you stepped up to that role today, and well deserved. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I think to talk about future proofing in a fast changing media environment is itself quite challenging, but I think maybe one place to start would be to ask our panel to identify the key challenges that you've faced in trying to future-proof your business, and maybe if you could kind of address that in terms that are relevant not just to your business but to all businesses in the media space. And I think that'll be a good learning for all of us. And then I'll ask you in another round of questions to then talk about some of the opportunities that those challenges have created for your business. That it's not all difficult, gloom and doom, but it's also exciting opportunities that you've come across. But first, looking at your business and where it is today, how did you address the key challenges? What were those challenges that you found perhaps most difficult to stay current in today's world? And I'll go back to Ellen to give her response to that question. Ellen, over to you.
I think I see some of the challenges as an opportunity to pivot. What we've done really great, and at least in the programmatic realm, has been being very reactive versus preventive. And some of those opportunities has been staying ahead of that technology that is influencing and making most of the decisions. I think in the last few months, I would say that AI has been a big part of the conversation. How to stay ahead of AI, when to use AI. Is AI replacing everybody's job? Let me just take an answer right now. AI is not. We've tried, and it has not done a great job, and we see it in our media right now, how AI needs a whole lot of more work. And so I'll say that over there. But so that has been an opportunity, how to brace the conversation with at least our clients to make sure that they don't mistake an automation that is supposed to help us be more efficient versus a replacing of that efficiency. So that's one. And I'll say a second opportunity has been, getting back in person, having that in-person exchange. I think that has been an opportunity to go back to what is the sweet balance, right? We were all locked in for a few months, a few years ago, at least. And now companies are yo-yoing back that personnel, that talent into the office, and forgetting that actually being virtual had a great benefit, right? And so it's all about that balance of like, okay, so now we have automation, now we're asked to go back into an office, now we're asked to do this in person, and then we're forgetting that, oh, just because we have to pivot back in person, it does not mean that we cannot continue networking like we're doing right now, right? Literally, you said 70 countries. Come on, 70 countries. It would be lovely to visit 70 countries, and I don't doubt that I'll ever do it. But I get to connect with like almost people around the world right now virtually. And so I think that's being future proof for me, or staying ahead. And I'll end with this: staying ahead of those challenges or seeing it as an opportunity. One is a mindset pivot that I had to go through, and I think everyone has to go through, is that there's always going to be the latest shiny object. Right now is AI, right now is getting back into office. But like, how can we do a little bit of both? How can we use what we've learned during COVID and then bring that knowledge and adapt? Like, we have to adapt a little bit more.
That's great, Ellen. I'm not meant to do this, but just I'll abuse my privilege and just say how much I agree with you, because when I described at the beginning how Mediaspace went into the online platform because of COVID, we didn't exit the online world, but when COVID was relaxed, we stayed in the online world, but also went back to a personal world as well. So it's been both and not either or for us. And I think that echoes what you just said very, very eloquently. So let me put the same question to Farrell. What were the key challenges for you trying to stay current and future-proof your business over the last few years? Farrell.
Well, over the last few years, I think if we're talking about our industry specifically, it's shifted. There are a lot more, every single year, there are a lot more players around, understandably. When clients are more, what's the word for it? They have access to cheaper quality, cheaper sort of like talent. So one of the challenges is basically highlighting the fact that, you can't compare, it's not comparing apples and apples when it comes to agencies, right? There are people who are running campaigns and people who have X number of years of experience to run same campaigns. So I think part of the challenge for us is not to play I would call the numbers game and compete on a price sort of like a structure. It's more about what do we bring to the table, right? But having said that, I think some of the challenges that we face besides technology is the fact that even before COVID, a lot of clients were already cutting back in terms of their budgets, right? So we needed to understand how we could thrive when budgets are getting smaller. So we needed to find different ways to find different things that we could offer to our clients beyond that of what we already do. So I think those were some of the key challenges that we faced as a business when it came to Orchid. So I think what we did, even starting before the pandemic hit, was to bolster our training sort of like programs, right? And we targeted a lot more C-suite clients, and we focused on crisis communications, reputation management, and training programs that were not as, I want to say not popular, but not as easily found, at least in Malaysia. And that kind of worked for us, when it came to the PR side of things. When it came to the third degree, I think the reason why I'm switching back and forth was the fact that the third degree came about because of our insights and our sort of like knowledge with the PR clients that we had. So even before we started off the third degree, which is an edutech sort of like platform, we were already servicing a lot of startups, whether it's fintech, agritech, adtech. So we kind of understood the kind of pain points that they were going through, whether it's through funding, whether it's through getting out news out. So we kind of understood what sort of like the challenges they faced, and I think that kind of like allowed us to rethink the way we wanted to position the third degree, and understanding that what were our ultimate goals and how we wanted to go about achieving said goals, right? So I think with these sort of like challenges that we face along the way, the silver lining was the fact that not only do we have a new business that we are hoping to get funded pretty soon, is the fact that the learnings that we had have been invaluable in shaping the way we see it. And it wouldn't have happened if we did not, I would say, if those sort of like challenges on the PR side didn't come about. If that makes sense. It's sort of like it's sort of like played into one to another. That if I were to explain it correctly.
Great, thank you, Farrell. That was brilliant. Last but not least, Lavina, give us your take on the key challenges you've faced in your profession to stay current and future-proof what you do. Lavina, we'd like to hear from you next.
Yeah, so I stepped into working as an independent consultant during the pandemic. So I think it was stepping into the unknown. And one of the problems which I think a lot of people face is the remote work and having access to be able to put yourself on the map at a time when things were quiet. I think Mediaspace definitely opened up the doors with that, because I was able to connect with people on a global scale and interview them on a weekly basis. So I think in that sense, there was that connection, but there's still that isolation piece where, working solitary and working as an independent consultant, you don't have that team, or although we do have teams, it's a very different feel to when I was working in the physical space. So I think that was a key challenge. But then I think it was also an opportunity to kind of go online and create a presence for yourself online. And as a result of that, I feel if you jump on that and step outside of your comfort zone and connect, communicate, and really interact and keep that consistency going online, it can really build something and create and open new doors. And it has for me. But it's also the second challenge that I'd like to talk about is companies cutting on budget as well. So I think it's being agile and adaptable to situations like that. So when something like that does happen, I think it's just using the downtime to sort of build your skill set and have more to offer, like Farrell just mentioned. So yeah, speaking from an independent consultant's perspective, I think it's just getting your head around the constant hustle and keeping your mind open to sort of taking on opportunities like this to get yourself known and building a presence online and creating that digital footprint of what you stand for and what you're able to add value to with businesses and companies and individuals.
Great, thank you, Lavina. Well, you've certainly shown us how to do that by your progress within Mediaspace, which has in itself been a great opportunity for all of us, I think. I'll go back now to Ellen, and we've got about another 10 minutes before we move into the general conversation part 2 of the event. So I think it'd be really great if you could talk a little bit about, looking ahead as far as we can. What do you think are the opportunities from the upside of the future changes that you expect to see? If you take AI as an example, Ellen, you've already mentioned AI. Obviously, some people see that as a real threat, but others see it as an opportunity. So I'm not suggesting you just focus on AI, as there are other subjects in the world, but it'd be interesting to hear what you think, Ellen, about the future opportunities that you are looking forward to as opportunities to grow your business, to future-proof your activity. And throw in, if you like, before the end of that, some piece of advice, a single piece of advice that you would give to the other people on the call about how to future-proof your business in the media world. So, Ellen, I'm going to go back to you. Would you like to give us?
Of course. Oh, thank you. I think I'm going to say that I'm looking forward to having more intentional connection, whether in person or virtually. I think because of everything that's been happening, that how automation is the latest and greatest. And I think, Farrell, you mentioned how, now we're trying to cut costs here. And Lavina said there's cutting budget. And I think what I'm looking forward to, I know for a fact that it's going to become more intentional. And likewise, when I am pitching an agency or I'm pitching a team to hire us for workshops or for training, I'm more intentional. I go out of my way to make sure that I know almost everything, or as much as legally is allowed, right? To know about the director of media, about this agency, how many people they're working with. I want to, hold on one second, baby, okay?
Looks like you've got a helper there who can maybe shed some insight onto the future. There is,
Yeah, and I'm looking to this kind of stuff. Like my kids are at home. Like all my clients know that once in a while my coworker is gonna come say hello, and that's
yeah.
okay. It's like I'm, I'm a mom first. I'm a wife. I'm a woman before all of these titles. Before I'm even a trainer, and so we have to be intentional enough to respect those boundaries. But I'm definitely looking forward to having more intentional conversation, intentional connection. I don't want to know 50 people. I want to know a top 5 that I can
Mm,
serve. And that's something that, going back to AI, sorry, that could be a
that's,
drinking game today, the drinking keyword game. That's something AI cannot provide, but it can help us be efficient, right? Oh, help me find information about that, not
mm,
generate the information, but
mm,
help me gather this
mm,
information. Help me explain this to a 5-year-old, copy paste, bullet point,
mm, mm.
you
Yeah,
know? And so I want people to remember that ultimately it's up to us, and that no matter what, we're trying to do it all to know it all. No, specialize, focus on one thing. How about
mhm,
that? How about knowing one thing really well versus
mhm,
a whole lot of a little bit of things, a little
yeah,
bit. No, we
yeah,
don't want mediocre anymore. I want to be able to work with an expert on that one or two things, maybe 3 things if you're a gladiator, right? So so that's what I'm looking forward to it in this future proof, right?
right.
Because ultimately future proof intends that we're getting ready for something to happen.
Mm,
Most of the time that intention, that intonation could be negative, but like I think it's going to be a positive. Like we're going to get back to having really really meaningful
mm,
conversation or really meaningful action, and that
yeah,
we're going to start caring, like go back to caring about things that are as basic as like how you doing for real, how's your kid doing, those type of
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
With that said, I think I forgot the second part of your question.
No, well, I was going to ask you for some advice, but you've given us some good advice. Can I
Okay, yeah.
also ask you a question, though? You use the word intentional and
Mhm.
being more intentional. To me, that intentional is kind of the flip side of accidental. So I was just curious, I was just curious
Oh,
about how you define intentional. What do you mean when you say being more intentional about your work? Can you just elaborate on that a bit?
yeah, like make the effort to every action that you make, try to serve somebody else in the making, right? I love to give this example that I was on a call with a DSP, and 20 minutes into the call I told them like, oh, I'm not buying media, but I service people that buy media. The disappointment, they shut off the call immediately. Oh, I don't think this is going to work then, sorry for wasting your time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you not hear what I just said? I literally service media holding big names. I can make introduction that could close your ear, right? But I said nothing. And then the following call that I had was somebody that was pitching me. And then they realized like, I really cannot help you, but here's somebody that can. And that's what I mean by being intentional, is that you're not the only one trying to
Mm,
survive, right?
mm,
So if you go in that survival mode, that I need something in return from your interaction right away, therefore I'm only going, no, go in, not go in with the intention that no matter what, I'm going to say one thing that's going to inspire this person to be better, because we
right.
all need, that's our base, that's the intention. You
Okay.
go in with this intention and this energy that no matter what, I will learn one thing from this interaction, and
Yeah.
that person will learn something. And
Yeah.
then if there's connection, if there's business, if there's profit, if there's whatever $1 million at the end of it, great. We all
Mm,
deserve prosperity. But
yeah.
ultimately, going with the intention of helping and
Mm,
serving first,
mm,
I think that's the best future proof. And that's the most basic human thing we can do. Like, how
great.
can I help you?
Yeah. Okay. That's you've answered all my questions. That's
Okay.
brilliant. So I'm going to move on, and I'll ask Farrell to address the same questions. Looking forward, Farrell, what do you see as the upside, the opportunities by being future proof? What do you see as some of the opportunities that you're really looking forward to, not dreading, but actually seeing as something very positive for your business? Farrell.
Right. So when you talk about my business, I got to think about which business do I want to talk about first. So I guess because we have, we play. So I guess if we talk about it from a PR standpoint, we know where we've learned that the opportunities are there if we, I think by what's the word for it? We, by determining what we wanted to focus on, we know that we can't be everything to everyone. It's not that we want to begin with. By focusing on that, we know that we get better quality clients versus many types of versus many clients, right? Quality clients that value our expertise, our knowledge, and want to be with us for the long haul, so to speak. So I think those are the kind of things that from a PR standpoint, I think has sort of like, by future-proofing ourselves, by understanding where we are in the market in comparison to the kind of different players, that kind of helped us solidify Orkin. But from I guess from the third degree, which is the startup, I think I'm going to re-emphasize the fact that, by understanding, because of what we've done with our clients in the PR side of things with tech clients, we understand the kind of pain points, whether it's from getting media attention, whether it's getting customer acquisition, whether it's getting funding from VCs, and by learning and by surrounding ourselves with startup founders, we know how to sort of like position ourselves not only as a business for the third degree, but also our platform and the technology that powers our platform to enable us to get new customers in order for us to get the kind of funding that we want. So I think I'm excited about that because to be honest, it's been something that we've been working for the last 3 years, and it's at the stage where we're finally lifting off. So we're very excited, and not to say we're not excited about Orkin, we still are, but it's just one of those things that when you see your baby learning to crawl, this is the part where we are we're excited to see whether what we have in our heads and what we put on paper is going to materialize when the product is out there in the market. So I think it's just testing to see whether we're putting our what's the word for it? We're just trying to see whether it works. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make complete sense. Casting the seed on the water. What's your single piece of advice for those on the call to help future-proof your business? You got one piece of advice?
Oh gosh, I think you have to be open to the fact that you don't know everything, and that's okay. But you need to be able to not be too embarrassed to want to learn. I think the whole concept of whether you're in PR or whether you're in tech or whether you're a lawyer, etc., there's always something new for you to learn. And I think and something what I've realized is that for a lot of people who are senior, is that they feel that they don't want to ask questions, and they feel that by asking questions they come across as being what's the word for it? Not an expert or be seen as not credible. And I think that's false. I think sometimes when you don't know something, it's best for you to just raise your hands, learn and just move along. And that's the best way for you to be future-proof, if that makes sense, regardless of whatever industry you're in, is to open your mind and to learn and not to be embarrassed to want to learn, I think.
Great. No, that's terrific. We're running short of time, so just time for Lavina to give her thoughts on the opportunities that you see in the future, and any single piece of advice for future-proofing your career.
Something that I've been really focusing on is data, because I feel like it's quite clear that there's no point putting out content, writing an article, if it's not going to translate into engagement. So I think that there's an opportunity to really sort of get to grips with data and really put out content that's going to resonate with an audience. So that would be something where I see good opportunity if done right. And then in terms of my one advice, I feel like time is our most valuable asset. So finding balance in your life. So putting in time into different aspects of your life, so that, if we future-proof ourselves as an individual, I think we'll just be more productive from a professional point of view. So I think my one piece of advice is to sort of give every area of life the care that it needs, so that you can thrive professionally as well as personally.
Very good. Work-life balance. I'll vote for that. So thank you to our panelists. We're going to move on to part 2 in a moment. I did just want, again, I'm abusing my position as chair, but you'll have to forgive me. I don't do it very often. But I would like to echo what Ellen said, which I think was her single piece of advice. I certainly would endorse it. And I remember saying exactly this on our leadership course, our online leadership course. Kinga will mention that again at the end, but it's on the Mediaspace platform, and Farrell is part of it, and Kinga and Lavina, and our colleague, another White Report Global board member, Phil McCauley, who couldn't be with us today. He's on the leadership course. But when I did a little leadership sort of intro, I quoted something my high school teacher had said to me for a group of kids, sort of teenagers, in a room. He said, over the next 2 years, I want to make sure that each one of you has something that you know really, really well that nobody else knows as well as you. So we're not all going to be experts in everything. And we've all got different levels of ability and talent, but you can always find a leadership role if there's one thing that you know better than everybody else in the room. And that's a lesson I took away from my teacher at high school. So I think it echoes a little bit what Ellen said, and I certainly endorse that. Know one thing really well. Okay, we're going to move now to part 2.